For the U.S. to reach greenhouse gas reduction goals, the transportation sector has to be involved. As I showed you before, it's the third of the total CO2 emissions. To reduce transport CO2 to the degree we have to, VMT, vehicle miles traveled, has to be reduced, or have to be reduced. And to do that, we need changes in development patterns. So that's the whole logical sequence that I'm going to paint for you today. Is it too late? When you talk about changing development patterns, the instant reaction is, well, look, what's going to change? Is my neighborhood, where I have lived for years and has been around since 1930, is that going to change? Probably not. But it's not too late, because the time frame we're talking about in the case of climate, unlike most of the issues we deal with in public policy, is 2050, is the end of the century. And in that time period, development patterns can and will change very significantly. We worked out the numbers in Growing Cooler, and we conservatively estimated that 2/3 of the development on the ground in 2050 will have been built between now and then, 2050. That sounds awfully high. You think, well, we have high-rise buildings and state capital, and all those things are going to be in place, but there will still be a whole lot of new development and redevelopment over that time period, particularly redevelopment of commercial. That's going to be the most important of the contributors. It'll be new development to meet the needs of an extra 120 million Americans. That'll be the other major contributor. So we're going to have a lot of new development which we can shape, and we can shape it in a way that is either more or less sprawling with consequences for VMT. Is the market ready for more compact development? That's the second thing that always comes up. First, can land use patterns change fast enough to make a difference? And the answer is yes. And then second, is the market ready for it? And we think it is. At least a healthy share of the market is. This is one of several surveys that have been done in the last few years of the American public, done by good survey research firms, where a choice has been offered to Americans. Would you like to live in community A or community B? And A is classic sprawl. It's 1 acre lots, everything's far, an auto drive away from home, no transit, no sidewalks, etc. And community B is, new urbanist, if you're familiar with that term, or more compact. It has a mix of housing, mix of land uses. You can conceivably walk to things. It has transit. When you offer this option, A versus B, to Americans, you'd be surprised at the percentage who opt for B, the smart growth alternative. Over half of all Americans now do, according to the survey. Now that B included a shorter commute than A, less than 45 minutes versus more than 45 minutes. If you take that out of the equation, still 1/3 of Americans want to live in a walkable community now. And then when you add a shorter commute, that's what boosts it to over 50%. So that's a pretty big number. And the survey research that has been done in the last few years is consistent. That the market for smart growth, if I can call it that, is large already, and it's growing. Here's just one more image to make the point. Between 2006 and 2007, after the housing bubble burst, the most significant declines in housing prices were in outlying areas. This happens to be the Portland-Vancouver plot by neighborhood of price inflation, typically for the city neighborhoods, and deflation or depreciation for the outlying suburban neighborhoods. But the same guy who did this plot, Joe Cartwright, did plots for 5 other metropolitan areas, and they all look alike. They all show that. Now that is, to be honest, it's in part the fact we had that dramatic increase in gas prices, making those very distant subdivisions very unattractive to home buyers. But there's more to it than that. And I'm going to talk just briefly about a couple of these long-term trends. Will the market for this kind of compact development continue to grow? And the answer is unequivocal, yes, it will grow. Because, as they say, demographics are destiny. I don't know who says that, but someone must. The baby boomers are aging. They are downsizing. In fact, I have just downsized myself. Not that you need my personal history or anything, but we're moving from Florida, where we've lived in a single-family home in a not particularly walkable neighborhood, to Salt Lake City, where we're very close to downtown, between the university and downtown. Still in single-family home, but on a smaller lot. I'm part of the silver tsunami. And there will be about 2 million of us turning 65 in just a few years, and needing less space, not necessarily opting for the suburban lifestyle anymore. We don't need to mow the lawn anymore as a result of choosing a school system, a school district that will fit our kids' needs. In fact, by 2025, there'll be as many single-person households as there are households with children. That's a long-term trend. Household with children, households opt for the suburbs, or have historically for a lot of different reasons. Single people have not. It's not an attractive option for them. So these demographic changes are very significant. Also, this is going to be kind of like me talking about growing cooler on a really, really cold day, or at least it felt really cold to me today coming from Florida. But with the price of gasoline down, it would be easy to dismiss the price spike as an aberration, or just due to speculative activity in the market or something like that. We knew that the price would come down after it hit its peak. That had been forecasted, as shown here. It came down more than was forecasted. But in the long term, if you are willing to accept the results of independent forecasts, as I am, the price of gasoline will go up, and it will be up even higher than it was at its peak. $5 a gallon gasoline before 2015, something like that. It depends on when we hit peak oil, that is worldwide peak production of oil. When that hits, I'm showing you a couple of different views. The World Energy Organization says that the production will continue to go up. That's the red line, dashed red line. Others are less sanguine. Some think we've already hit peak oil. Most of the independent forecasts say we'll hit peak oil between now and 2020. When that happens and supply drops off as demand continues to go up, gasoline will get very, very expensive. And an outlying, close to nothing subdivision is not going to be an attractive place to live, whereas an infill project, a TOD, transit-oriented development project, will be attractive when that occurs. So when you put it all together, you put together the demographic changes, the lifestyle preference changes, which we've seen, particularly for the Gen Xers and Gen Ys. You put those things together with a forecast of population, and what you get is what Chris Nelson, and I'm showing a graphic from his paper in the Journal of the American Planning Association in 2006. What he found is, based on these changes that can be anticipated between now and 2025, we already have enough large lot housing on the ground today to meet the demand in 2025. We already have enough of the big stuff. What we need is smaller lot, single-family detached housing, and multifamily. In other words, something other than sprawl. Chapter 3, I've just given you Chapter 2 of the book, a short version of it. Chapter 3,